Welcome to New Thought Tuesdays, everyone, with Rich Smith, my spiritual partner. I'm Dean Regan, RSCP, and today, the four agreements. Agreement 2, don't take anything personally. Rich. Okay, so Rich and I were talking before we got on here, and I shared that I love the four agreements. I love their simplicity. I love their directness. I love their human impact and import and their connection to our faith. And of the four agreements, number 2 is the one I love the most and have the most problem with. Don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. So what we mean by that, what Don Miguel Ruiz means by that is that if you take something personally, you're taking responsibility for other people's thoughts and other people's actions. Mm. And so it may sound simple to say, okay, I'm not going to take this personally, but when's the last time you were caught off in traffic and you went, oh, authentically, blessings to you? Or a coworker makes a comment about you, or a family member pushes that button, and I start to take things sometimes personally. We start to take things sometimes personally. And before I had this particular book, I took things personally a lot more than I do now. The first time I read this book and took this, did a class on this, took a class on it. It was like, okay, this is probably about 25, 30 years ago, but okay, all right, let's try this. And as I tried it out, I found it so wonderfully rewarding and so remarkably challenging because it engages your ego, Richard. It engages your ego. When you're taking something, somebody says something to you, something to me that I take personally, it engages the ego. And one of the things and we want to talk about that today, we want to talk about the idea of allowing your rankling to reflect as a desire for revealing of truth or healing. Yeah. And not associated with our worth. The thing about this agreement, Don Miguel Ruiz's agreement, don't take anything personally, is as I've begun to explore it over the years, as I've incorporated it in over the years, it unlocks any sense of resistance. It just releases it. It allows for resilience, and it's provided me a lot more peace and clarity, spiritual and psychological.
Yeah. And so what you're saying is nothing others do is because of you.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's their interpretation of what's going on in your life or their life. Don Miguel calls it the dream, right? Mm-hmm. What they say and do, it's a projection of their own reality. It's a projection of their own dream.
Yeah.
And, for me, in my infinite filmmaker teachings, we're all creating our own movie called life. He calls it the dream. I call it the movie called life. And that we're all creating our own, and we're, reflecting that on others. So if anybody has an opinion about you, it's just their opinion, correct? It's their opinion based on what they believe and what they've experienced in their own life. It has nothing to do with us. So we can't let it bother us. We can't let it get to us.
And yes, that is absolutely what we're saying. And that thing of not letting it get to me, not letting it get to us, is to be mindful about how you're reacting to what somebody else is saying or doing. Their actions are bringing into your experience. To allow yourself to be clear, crystal clear about your groundedness And the thing about this is, it's not just when they're, casting shade on you. It's also when they're complimenting the heck out of you. Like, wait a minute, I can't take that personally either. It really is a matter of, when you take it personally, you're setting yourself up for suffering.
Yeah.
And as within the Tibetan awareness, we're just allowing ourselves to acknowledge suffering, but not to enhance it. And with these teachings, to really just take this as an opportunity to relieve ourselves of suffering.
Yeah. I have a good story about that. Maybe this is a good example. It happened the other night. We had our daughters over who haven't been together in, God, more than a year and a half. My daughter lives in Costa Rica and all over the world. She travels a lot. And her daughters, live in LA. And we got them all together for dinner. And with the millennials, there's something about body, talking about people's bodies. Oh, they're overweight, they're fat, they're too skinny. They just don't want to go there. It's just something the millennials like, no, you don't talk about somebody else's body structure, whatever, whether fat, skinny, or the beautiful or the sexy or whatever. You just don't do it these days. And so Jennifer mentioned something about weight. And and all of them started saying, "You're always talking about people's weight." And she got offended and she was like, "I just cooked dinner for these kids and they're all attacking me because I said something about weight." And I
Mm.
said, "Jen, you got to understand that they're all working on their own body structure, dieting and, you know, taking the pills or whatever they take to lose weight. They have issues around it, and that's their story. And they're just picking on you because you mentioned something that's very close to them and they don't want to, address it or talk about it." And so, I told Jennifer, you can't, that's them, that's their story. You can't let it affect you. You can't let it ruin the night and think, oh, I invited them over for dinner and now they're, you know, all talking, making fun of me and stuff like that. And it's like, they're just projecting their own belief system on you. It has nothing to do with you and what you believe and what you experience in your life.
And though I wasn't invited, and I would have gone if I had invited me, we could have set me up on a little Zoom platform. It would have been great. I was not there in any way, shape, or form, but I can surmise that Jennifer was taking their comment personally. I can surmise that they were taking Jennifer's comment personally, and by taking things personally, it allows us to open up to be vulnerable to some kind of sense of emotional poisoning. That that there was all kinds of personal things. Now, I don't know that you took it personally. I had a sense that basically, by the way you tell your story, that it was a neutral experience for you, that it was a place of wisdom, a place of intelligence. Plus, we're focused on not taking it personally this week. Now, and focus, be aware of what you focus on, folks, because every time we focus on some kind of topic that we've got going on, or whenever I do a talk, a spiritual keynote at a center or a church, as I'm preparing it, there's always stuff that seems to come up. So this Monday, yesterday, I had a phone call with an old friend of mine that I found challenging. There was some information that was provided that was challenging. There were some points of view that were provided that I found challenging. And then there was a comment that I took personally. And that was my reaction. I took it personally, but I've been doing this stuff a long time. I was like, whoa, taking that personally, aren't you, Dean? And I took a brief breath. I stopped. I breathed again. And I recognized that this comment had nothing to do with me personally.
Right.
That there is great love for this person, that there continues to be great love for me. And I steered clear of that emotional poison that I was going into when I was starting to respond by, oh, they don't ever want that from me, or they're accusing me of that. I'm like, oh, Dean, shut up. Take a deep breath. You're taking this personally.
Yeah.
And that was it took maybe about 3 seconds to go through that. I had some residual mindfulness after the conversation. I spoke with a mentor of mine about it, because it's all about me. I mean, it's not about this lovely friend that I was talking to. It's all about how I'm taking this. And I was taking it personally. And I love that I had that opportunity to kind of practice what we're preaching today.
Yeah. You know, you're the star of your movie. You're not the star of their movie, you know? And everyone's casting themselves in a role. And that most of the times they're not even watching your movie. They're just in their own little movie. Like my daughters were in their little movie about, oh, you don't talk about people's body structures and stuff these days, you know, in 2025. And that's this movie, that's their story. And they don't even know your story. They haven't, as I always say to Jen, they haven't walked in your shoes. And until they walk in your shoes, they won't understand your comments or your belief systems or your story,
Yeah.
you know?
Nothing others do is because of you.
Yeah.
Nothing others say is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. This whole and as much as Rich and I are really together on this, and we really have had a great time for these last 3.5 years, there have been some challenges that we've both experienced in this process. And as we've grown to understand that nothing others do is because of you, and what others say and do, we've had plenty of opportunities to practice the kind of neutrality, that loving neutrality, so to speak, to know that this is not personal. Because when we start taking it personally, when we choose to react personally, then it comes up with that, for a lack of a better phrase, emotional poisoning. So Emma Curtis Hopkins, I love this. She says, stop repeating error thoughts about yourself or others.
Yeah.
That is one of the things. So, that's be impeccable with your word, which was last week. No gossiping. If you're not talking to the people involved and there's nothing supportive about what you're saying, change the subject.
Yeah.
Stop repeating error thoughts or choosing error speech or error reactions about yourself or others. We are spiritual beings.
Yeah. 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 And we're perfect, whole, and complete exactly as we are. And when we take others' opinions about us and take it personally, then
Mhm.
that can ruin the flow of life, you know? Like for Jen, you know, she was very excited. Oh, daughters are finally getting together and she's cooking this beautiful dinner and stuff. And just letting their comments affect her just dissolved all of the good stuff, all the good feelings. And I had to, we had to work together on getting back to the good feelings. Well, let's talk about what was good. They're sitting out on the patio, and Gwen, oops, I used the name. One of the daughters went to a wedding and she had her hair all braided. And it was so cute watching them out there on the patio unbraiding her hair. Madeline on one side and Abby on the other and Gwen in the middle. And they're on, yeah, and it was just so cute. I had to videotape it and take pictures of it when they didn't know I was doing it. And I said, Jen, let's talk about that stuff. Let's talk about what was good and what happened. You know, over the dinner, Gwendy asked me, well, how did you do with your rally that you went to, you know, in downtown? And she started asking me questions. Jen thought, you know, that was great that Gwendy was asking me about my life and what's going on in my life. And she wanted to participate in my life, you know? And so let's focus on that stuff. And we had to like deny all of that other stuff that was she was feeling, taken advantage of or whatever, and go to let's get back to that feeling of what did it feel like having our daughters here. And let's focus on that.
And when we talk about denial, we're not talking about pushing away or ignoring, but we're saying, I'm feeling this way, and I'm denying that there is this sense of separation that I am experiencing. I am denying that God can ever not be present. I am denying my sense of resistance, and then allowing that to flow away as you focus on that which you're wanting.
Yeah.
In living in concert with life, which is my brand and my ministry, I talk a lot about music and use the musical metaphors in my practice. So then the idea of this whole taking it personally, it's kind of like if somebody is playing off key, by they're pointing something in your direction that is off key musically, and you choose to go in and play off key with them. Like, yeah, no, keep to your music. Allow their music to dance with yours and flow away. Flow over, kind of like a musical Tai Chi, Qigong, that whole thing of allowing it to flow and not and flowing beyond you and past you, and not adjusting your basic premise, which is I am whole, perfect, and complete. This is also one of the ways I use, and used it instantly in that 3-second kind of exchange that I was experiencing my response of, how is this happening for me? As opposed to going to a problem. It's like, oh, they owe it. How's this happening for me? I am in the presence of someone that I have loving feelings about. I am acknowledging and experiencing their conversation as they wish to share it with me, and I'm continuing to love them, even if I am not singing the same song that they're singing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to add to that too, that getting metaphysical here, that we're all interconnected anyways through a unique connection with the divine. We're all spirit, and we're connected through spirit. And so if somebody says something against me, something that I'm doing, and criticizes or judging me, I just understand that they're just judging themselves, because we're all one. There's
Mhm.
one thing going on here. That's the infinite filmmaker, God, divine presence, expressing itself in perfection as everybody and everything. And so that perfection is what I have to see in them. They're just, it's their journey. It's their
Mhm.
journey. It was our daughter's journey to address that situation. And in the end, what happened, Dean, is Jennifer said, uh, that's it. I'm not going to talk about body parts anymore. It's a no-no situation, you know? And we're walking the dog the other night, and she started saying something about me. And I goes, wait a second, we're not talking about body parts, right? And so, she goes, you're right. It's it's it encompasses everything. Shouldn't judge people. You judge people, you judge yourself. So on the other hand, if you're judging somebody, then you're really just judging yourself. Because if you're in judgment for somebody else, then you must be judging yourself. And judging yourself can be one of the worst things you can do. It'll paralyze you. It'll keep you from moving forward as the unique emanation of the divine.
Which we are, which we are, which we are. And we are going to be going into the inner circle, which is our membership, confidential, private group where we take these ideas and we speak about them even more deeply, personally, and we grow them in our awareness even more effectively. The inner circle has been such a gift to both of us, and we trust all of the people that are in the inner circle. I know people talk about with me, it's like, I look forward to that inner circle. So I'm glad that they're here, that we're about to go into that. And next week here on New Thought Tuesdays, get ready for week 3. Don't make assumptions. That's what the third agreement is. Don't make assumptions, because when you stop guessing, you start listening. So we will be doing that next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Well, I assume I'll see you next week.
It is my plan. It is my plan.
Me too.
All right. See you
Okay,
later.
then. Bye.